Good evening, folks. This is Eric Ahlport here to discuss with you the ZeUs GameOver botnet. Potentially, actually, easily the first botnet of its kind to be provided as a malware as a service. So the discovery of what would eventually become GameOver ZeUs was first noticed by a member of a tech support forum. The forum was called TechSupportGuy.com. At the time, it was a fairly well-established site with, I'd say, between 300 to 500 members. One of the users had been looking over his sister's laptop as it had been very slow and acting strangely, and he had some knowledge of code and came across some very strange looking, potentially malicious code that he was hoping he could get a little more feedback on from his community. So, of course, in this tech support forum, there were inevitably some cybersecurity researchers there who, if they did not know themselves, passed it along to friends of theirs. And it was eventually determined that, yes, this indeed was a very malicious Trojan designed specifically to literally just make its way onto the target's computer, likely through a phishing email link or maybe even an infected piece of software. And then once this malware was on the PC, it had the potential to do serious damage. It could do anything from, it was initially developed to be a banking Trojan. So designed specifically to steal unsuspecting users' login credentials, infect users' computers, and then nearly flawlessly imitate their exact banking habits. Gain access to any sort of highly private data they may have stored on their computer. And additionally, it was also designed to steal every bit of personal information a person had stored on their computer, no matter whether it was password protected or not, hidden deep within several layers of subfolders. Want to add that no matter how many subfolders you think is enough, it's never enough. WSN Poem was also, of course, always on the hunt for social security numbers, bank cards, PIN numbers, bank routing and account numbers, and any other information the cyber criminals could get their hands on to extract as much money as possible. So it is a wildly held belief by security researchers prevalent during this era that the first versions of WSN Poem and its ever so slightly improved ZBot tool and interface upgrade were both simultaneously distributed through the Cutnail botnet as well as the Knebber botnet. Both of these, of course, via phishing attacks directed through their army of, at the time, an estimated 75,000 to 80,000 infected computers. These days, not quite so high a number, but back in the early 2000s, that was definitely nothing to scoff at. The Cutnail botnet itself was established around 2007 and used to trick unsuspecting users into installing a Trojan called Pushto. This malware would give those at the control center complete backdoor access and total control over the victim's Windows PC, enlisting it as another slave in their botnet army. Pushto could take total control over one system if its intruder so desired. The hacker would be able to download, upload, and execute files, further spread the malware amongst any computers connected in the house, being through the network, the internet, even direct LAN connections, I'd imagine. It could log keyboard strokes, mouse clicks, modify system settings, such as control panel settings, edit your registry, go into your command line or PowerShell, make severe changes from there, modify system settings, and run or terminate any software they so desired, as well as delete any and all files that they felt like. This could potentially be a very, very dangerous situation. Once the Windows PC was infected with this Trojan malware, it would of course continue on its journey, as its purpose in life is to continue on and infect as many other PCs as possible to join the botnet. So once infected on a somewhat sizable scale, a botnet acts as an army of computers ready to do their commander's bidding. Literally anything from stealing data across the globe to launching cyber attacks, unleashing DDoS attacks on unsuspecting companies or governments, or just simply stealing and hoarding data information just for the thrill of it or the purpose of blackmailing people later. So two big security firms at this point, both reached out to comment on the Never botnet, as well as the Cutnail botnet, and even included the ZeUs Trojan in this. McAfee, first, one of the world's largest security researchers, at the time stated that, quote, with 75,000 infected machines, Never is not even that big. There are much larger botnets, McAfee said in a written statement. Never is based on the ZeUs Trojan malware known to security companies. In my opinion, a little more on the realistic side, Symantec added to McAfee's statement, stating that Never in reality is not a new threat at all, but simply a pseudonym for the infamous and well-known ZeUs Trojan. The name Never simply refers to a particular group or herd of zombie computers, aka bots, being controlled by one owner. The actual Trojan itself is the same Trojan, ZBot, which also goes by the name ZeUs, which has been observed, analyzed, and protected against for some time now by us. So reading the statements, they're comparing and contrasting them between these two security industry giants. It really does seem to me as if McAfee were downplaying the severity of the potential future problems they could be facing. Whereas Symantec, on the other hand, seem to have chosen their words much more carefully and taken a highly more measured approach in their answer. So moving on, WSN Poem, the history of it and creation was eventually traced to a Russian hacking group who called themselves Uplevel. They were found out by Dell SecureWorks, a sub-security team of Dell, who would eventually be instrumental in bringing down ZeUs GameOver as well. The very first version of ZeUs was created by Uplevel in 2005, and after spending nearly 5 years straight working on the project, Uplevel simply released their new crime freeware, for free. It apparently was pretty user-friendly, and however, of course, since it was free, it did not always work. But these first versions were apparently successful, and for those with time and dedication, it took little to no tech skill. In 2010, security firm NetWitness revealed that one of these early ZeUs releases, again, nothing near a rock solid piece of coding or software engineering, was actually used to control a separate botnet, this time with around 75,000 infected hosts. And there were some real consequences this time, as several large corporations found themselves dealing with this newfound trouble. These corporations included two major giants, the first of which being the massive pharmaceutical conglomerate Merck, as well as the Hollywood film studio Paramount Pictures. And the other company listed in this breach was the network equipment manufacturer Juniper Networks. Now, in the midst of this fiasco, over 68,000 login credentials were stolen in a span of less than 4 weeks, which potentially gave tens of thousands of unauthorized people access to personnel records, personal emails, sensitive corporate data, finances, salaries, and so on and so forth. Just a fun fact, years later, once ZeUs GameOver had finally developed into the massive monstrosity that it eventually became, in 2009, one single botnet setup alone within a corporation was responsible for taking over 600,000 systems. So, you may ask, how are the Trojans distributed so regularly without users catching on? Well, it's actually fairly simple. Think about your grandmother, your less tech savvy uncle, your less tech savvy aunt, your parents. Hundreds of thousands of citizens, millions even, they trudge into work, sit at their desk or cubicle, bored out of their mind for hours, and simply go about their daily routine. They don't always take those few extra seconds to see if that email from Amazon or Amazon.co.uk or Nike.com or wherever you fancy ordering from is actually from the right address. So let's take a look at these two pictures here. The first appears to be an email from the USAA, a bank for American Armed Forces. But if you look closely at the from address, you can see that it says USAA dot caret no hyphen reply at USAA.com. Now, if I'm correct, I believe USAA is a .gov address. So there's your first warning. If you look at the second picture, HSBC, again, not a bank I'm familiar with, but I do know it is a bank. If you look at the URL for this website, the URL is hsbc.co.uk.pezzzf.com.p/1/2/ HSBC integration, blah, blah, blah. It all looks very, very suspect. That is not an official internet banking website. So it's important to keep an eye out for things like that. Talking to your children, parents, grandparents, again, aunts, uncles, nephews, sister, brother-in-law, etc. Just explain to them what I was just telling you about. Tell them to be hyper vigilant. Unfortunately, these days, everyone on the internet wants to take advantage of you. It's just a simple fact of life, and we're going to have to learn to live with it. So teach them what they can do to avoid being scammed and being made a victim of. It's very important. So a quick infographic on how the GameOver ZeUs botnet works. From your PC infection stage all the way to getting back to the slimy botnet boss who's collecting the money and sitting back like the scumbag that he is. So building the botnet, cyber criminals create a network of compromised computers by sending emails with embedded malicious links or attachments, or by enticing users to visit infected websites. Once infected, covertly installed malware connects computers to the botnet infrastructure without the owner's knowledge. Next up, through the command and control servers, the servers orchestrate the commands, routing the correct information to your various banks. Third step, botnet use. These infected computers are now organized together to implement illicit orders from the command and control servers. Again, it's these command and control servers that are sort of the linchpin to these botnet networks. And then we have my least favorite person, the quiet threat there in the background, our guy in the white t-shirt with a bag of money. He just sits back and watches the cash roll in, stealing from hardworking people, taking people's 401ks, children's college savings, people's retirement funds, vacation money, etc. I wish the worst of evils upon that man. The figure on the right, you will see 2012 worldwide ZeUs GameOver infection stats. And congratulations to the US on ranking #1 there with 150,201 unique botnet IDs and an even higher 458,882 unique actual IDs. So here are some ZeUs GameOver screenshots in action. On the left here, you'll first see the botnet getting going. This is where it will view the statistics in the administrative panel of the PC network server, what have you, it's about to attack. The second image there from the right is going to be the data that actually ends up coming back stolen from their initial analysis of the PC that they were wanting to get into. Third picture on the right is the result page after they have executed the install script, and this is actually showing them receiving their money back, for lack of a better term. This is a picture of their wallets filling up in real time. It's disgusting. Now, this is, I thought, was probably the coolest. These are more screenshots of ZeUs GameOver in action. The first screenshot up there in the top left is the actual bot from the botnet sending the GET request to the server it is after. So that is listing the particular files and information that it wants or needs to get. And if you just look over to the right there, it is really that easy. They have perfected it to the point where, sure enough, that server, even though it's supposed to have security configurations up, down, left, and right, sends them back exactly everything they want. Another couple cool pictures here on the bottom left-hand corner are the machine IDs of the actual botnet computers themselves. Now, the first one is in plain text, but the second one, of course, is going to be encrypted. As we, I mean, I actually wouldn't care if law enforcement went after them, but those releasing the picture certainly. Here we see our just sort of a brief overview of ZeUs infections, mostly between the years, I believe 2009, 2014. If you look at the top left photo, I mean, Europe was absolutely slammed with ZeUs GameOver. The US, if you look in the bottom left, did not do much better either. There is a infection in the US there that looks rather familiar to something I think we've all seen recently. And the two pictures on the right, you can see countries where ZeUs has been found the most for the month of October 2009. And in the bottom right-hand corner, the infection trend for ZeUs, which clearly was spiking, I would say right around mid-October 2000. Yeah, late October, early November 2009. So in class earlier, I spoke to you guys about Slavic and his development with the PRG banking Trojan malware, and then his further exploration into developing GameOver ZeUs. But one thing I really wanted to go into because it was so impressive was the eradication of ZeUs once it was discovered. It was especially impressive because Slavic employed not 3, not 4, but I believe 5 layers of redundancy to protect his botnet servers from being taken down. So the following 3 slides are all statements from U.S. Justice Department officials. The first one here is from Assistant Attorney General Leslie Caldwell from the U.S. Department of Justice Criminal Division, and he was the first to announce the charges leveled against Slavic and his co-conspirators. General Caldwell said, beginning in the early morning hours on this past Friday and continuing throughout the weekend, the FBI and foreign law enforcement began a coordinated seizure of computer servers around the world that had backbones of both GameOver ZeUs and CryptoLocker. These seizures took place in Canada, France, Germany, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, the Ukraine, and the United Kingdom. Recognizing that the seizures alone would not be enough because cyber criminals can quickly establish new servers in other locations, our team began a carefully timed sequence of technical measures. These measures were designed to wrest from the criminals the ability to send commands to hundreds of thousands of infected computers and to direct those computers to contact the server that the court authorized us to establish. Working from a command post in the United States and at the European Cybercrime Center in The Hague, Netherlands, the FBI and our foreign counterparts, assisted by numerous private sector partners, worked around the clock to accomplish this redirection and to defeat various defenses built into the malware, as well as significant countermeasures attempted in real time over the weekend by the cyber criminals who were trying to keep control over their network. I'm pleased to report that our actions have caused a major disruption of the GameOver ZeUs botnet. Our next statement refers more to the interagency and interindustry cooperation between teams from FBI agent Robert Bob Anderson. If you know him, he goes by Bob. Mr. Agent Anderson explained the impressive inter-office collaboration which played a key role in the takedown of this botnet. Quote, GameOver Zeus is the most sophisticated botnet the FBI and all of our allies have ever attempted to disrupt. In fact, this is the largest fusion of law enforcement and industry partner and cooperation ever undertaken in support of an FBI cyber operation. Today's actions are part of an operation called Clean Slate. The FBI's Pittsburgh, Omaha, and Washington field offices have led the GameOver Zeus investigation with the assistance of our legal attaches offices in Canada and in Germany. Participants in the GameOver Zeus operation include law enforcement from the Ukraine, the United Kingdom, Japan, France, the Netherlands, and Canada, as well as our European Cybercrime Center. Among the many private sector partners who assisted by helping victims remediate the damage to their computers infected by the GameOver Zeus botnet are as follows: the Microsoft Corporation, Dell SecureWorks, CrowdStrike, Neustar, Symantec, McAfee, F-Secure, Abuse.ch, Affiliates, Level 3 Communications, and Shadow Server. Finally, we have the final word here from U.S. Attorney General James Cole, although his speech is noticeably more succinct than his colleagues, Cole seemed to have one task that he wanted here to present, which was to note that he was nowhere near done going after, arresting, and prosecuting our little Slavic Bogachev as soon as it was humanly possible. Quote, he said, quote, "Today we're here to announce that over the weekend the department disrupted 2 extremely damaging cyber threats. We have also identified and charged one of the leaders of the Eastern European criminal cyber gang that was responsible for these schemes. Evgeny Bogachev, a Russian national, has been indicted in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for his role as an administrator of the GameOver Zeus botnet. Bogachev, a true 21st century criminal who commits cybercrimes across the globe, stroke of a key and the click of a mouse, is also charged in a newly unsealed criminal complaint in Omaha, Nebraska, for orchestrating a related botnet scheme. These crimes have earned Bogachev a place on the list of the world's most wanted cyber criminals." And unsurprisingly, as he is a Russian national citizen, Slavic is still there, as you can see here. Not quite so much the young 20-something he once was when he was turning out this code, but there he is. It is actually rumored that he is working with the FSB now, which is the Russian special police, the Russian equivalent of the NSA, FBI, CIA, all rolled into one. It would not surprise me if someone with his skills and abilities would be courted to that position. That more or less concludes it for this evening. I apologize if I didn't reach everything I meant to. I recorded this 4 times, and it was only on the 4th time that the audio actually went through. So I hope you all enjoyed this. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening.